Good afternoon. Welcome to my channel, Canning with Kate. I am so glad that you came to join me this afternoon. I am going to be canning up some chicken today because we have none on our shelves, and I think just having canned chicken on the shelf is such a fantastic thing to have because it's an easy, versatile product, and you can certainly feel free to add any herbs and broths and stuff like that to season your chicken. This is not going to be that today. I am not going to do that because I prefer to keep my chicken very neutral when I can it, and that way I can add it into any dish without worrying about the herbs or spices that I've put into it already. So we're going to be canning up some chicken, and today I am just going to be doing it in pint jars. Typically I've done quarts, but I've started realizing that when I use quart jars, when I have a quart of canned chicken, which is approximately 2 pounds of raw chicken put in there, I don't end up using the whole quart. So it goes, half back into the fridge, and I don't know when I'm going to use it again. So I am just going to put them in pints today. So I am going to be approximating about 1 pound, give or take, of the raw chicken is going to go into each pint. I think that's a good thing to know, because when recipes call for like 1.5 or 2 pounds of chicken or 1 pound of chicken for your recipe, then you know kind of exactly what you've got in your jars. So I'm going to be getting 9 pints out of my chicken. I went to Sam's Club and I just bought one of their bulk chickens. So let's get started. All right, here is my setup. I have my jars all washed and ready to go. These are cold. My chicken is cold, it's raw, so that's why my jars are cold. And everything is gonna go into the cold canner and just heat up all together. I am one of those crazy people that just does not like the feeling of raw chicken, so I'm going to be wearing my gloves. Even though my hands are clean, I'm going to be wearing these. So not necessary, but if you don't like the feeling of cold raw chicken on your hands, I suggest you buy some gloves. All right, so again, this is just the bulk chicken from Sam's Club. I'm probably not going to be using all of this in my jars. I actually probably could, because I can double stack in my canner when I'm using pints. I can put another shelf in between them, and I can double stack. But I kind of want some chicken to grill for dinner later, so I'm not going to do that. But if you are doing pints, remember that if you want to can up all your chicken, if it's more than 9 pounds and you have a larger canner, you can always do a double stack. Now, canning chicken is like one of the easiest things to do. I believe this was actually the very first thing I learned to can back when I was way new, was canning chicken. And the reason this is so simple is because you don't have to pre-cook it, you don't have to add any spices, you don't have to measure anything. It is by far the easiest thing, and it's such a help when you need something for dinner really quickly, or you ran out of chicken and you don't have time, or you don't want to go to the store for whatever reason. Then you can just pull this on the shelf. It's also really great to have for like salads, or if you want to make a chicken salad. This is like stupid simple. All right, oh, hold on 1 second. All right, sorry, my daughter came in from playing with her friends to get her Barbies. So, all right, so this is why this is so easy. It's because when I can my chicken, I just put it I chop it up, I dice it into like 1-inch cubes. You can do smaller, you can do bigger, but I like that 1 inch. And then you just pack it in there because this will shrink, and it will get all of the juices in from the chicken juice. So you have like pure chicken broth and a pound of chicken in there. So some people would like to add broth to their chicken. That's fine. My viewpoint on that is if you decide to do that, that's totally fine. Some people say that it helps the chicken to remain not so dry, because sometimes the chicken might have more of a dry texture, just like canned chicken that you get from the store, right? So they say that if they put chicken broth or vegetable broth or whatever in their jars with their chicken, it keeps it a little bit more moist. Just keep in mind that when you are canning up raw chicken, you are going to get chicken broth. So you don't want to fill up your jars so much with the broth that as it's canning, as it's cooking, that the natural broth from the chicken that comes out is going to cause a lot of seepage and possible non-sealing going on. So that would be my only thing. Some people don't add anything, and that's totally fine. I am going to add a little bit of water to my jar, mainly just for aesthetics sake. It doesn't need to be done. It doesn't really do anything from what I know. If it does and you know about it, let me know. But it just kind of keeps all of the chicken under some juice, which means that it might look a little bit nicer on the shelf. But again, not necessary. Now, when you are canning this up, if you like to have spices in your canned chicken, if you know that you really like basil or salt or, you know, pepper, whatever you really like those to go in your chicken, then feel free to go ahead and put some in at this time while you're packing it in there. And that's it. So I am going to continue packing these up, and when I am done, I will bring you on back and we'll continue the process. See you in a few. All right, I am on my last chicken breast, and I did not pay attention real closely to the weight of my package, and so I am not even going to get full 9 pints, but that's okay. This package is approximately 7 pounds of chicken, and I'm going to get 7.5 pints of chicken. So that's pretty accurate then, is about 1 pound of chicken per pint. Now, I wanted to mention that when you open this jar, whenever you decide that you want to use your chicken, after you've processed it, it is not going to be staying in these cubes. It is going to end up being more kind of like shredded chicken. So just keep that in mind, because when I did this the first time, I was not aware that that was how it was going to come out of the jar, was more of a shredded type of chicken. And so if you are looking for something that is more to use for fajitas, I've done that. I have canned fajita meat before, and you just make sure that you put them in the strips and keep those in the strips, and then I do put water in those. And when you take them out, you just fry them up like you would normally for the fajitas. But everything else is going to end up kind of like shredded chicken. So I'm done with this. See how simple this is? Like, even if you have never canned anything in your life and you want something to put on the shelf because, you know, you sometimes have crazy nights, either you've got kids who are in sports or activities, and sometimes you just don't have the time to put together a fresh meal, put chicken together, because this is so simple and it has saved me a lot in the past few months as we have finished our move and we've been starting to just kind of acclimate to our new home. For a while there, it was kind of crazy and I didn't have a whole lot of time to be cooking, so I started pulling a lot of food off of my pantry shelf, and this went really fast, really fast. So put chicken on your shelf and get ground beef on your shelf. Ground beef is another thing that is very similar to this, but you do need to brown it first. So that is the one extra step if you want ground beef on your shelf, which is something that I would definitely suggest putting on there. Pints are what I use for ground beef. I do use quarts because I tend to use the whole quart, but I'm going to try these pints first and see if I like this size better. For the quarts, you would process it in the pressure cooker for 90 minutes. For these, for the pints, it's only going to be 75. All right, so the next step, now that I've got these all in, the next step is to, I hear little voices coming. Oh. Okay, I had a skinned knee emergency, so I had to go and take care of that, but we're back. And so please do this. If you do nothing else, go get whatever you can and can up some chicken. All right, I cannot tell you, you will be so happy that you did that. All right, so now I have some filtered water, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of that in each. I'm gonna do more in this one because there's not a whole lot of chicken in there. And then I am going to add in the 9th jar, just so that I have a completely full canner of just water. And then I have some shelf-stable, clean water, you know? It's always good to have. And I don't know about you, but I cannot get water to pour cleanly on anything ever. Whenever I need to pour something into another container and my husband is around, I always ask him to please help me, because if I do it, I'm going to have either coffee or milk or water or whatever it is all over the floor. And it's a horrible thing, absolutely horrible. All right, so there we go. Okay, and remember, you do want that 1-inch head space from the top of your meat to the edge of your jars. So that is still important, even though you're not filling it with liquid at this moment, unless you choose to, of course. And then that's still that 1-inch head space. All right, so because I am adding a little bit of water, I do still want to debubble my jars and get all of that air bubbles out. I'm not going to really worry too much about how much water I've put, because I know I just put a little bit, and the rest is going to be the chicken broth. So, oh, it sounds so gross. I don't know about you guys, but that sound, oh. All right, here we go. Just gonna debubble this. And the water does not need to get debubbled. All right, so everything has been done. Okay, now what I need to do is get a hot, wet towel so I can clean the rims of my jars. And then I've already washed my lids and my rings. So I'm simply wiping down the edges of my jars. So just in case some raw chicken, you know, touched the rims of those jars, I want to get that off because I don't want anything to compromise my seal. Again, you can always use white vinegar if you want to do this. I, for the most part, use water unless I'm doing something like the ground beef, because ground beef is very greasy. So I will use the vinegar on my rims for the ground beef, but generally I just use water, hot water. Okay, so now I'm ready to go ahead and put the rings on, the lids and rings. So I have my wide mouth lids, and I'm just going to put it on fingertip tight. So sometimes, a lot of the time, I do it too tight and then I just back it off a little bit. The reason being, I don't want my lids to buckle, which means that you're going to see a little like a dent in the top of your lid. And if that happens, it's not going to be the end of the world. It doesn't mean that your food is ruined. It doesn't mean that you need to throw it away. It just means that the air that was in your jar was unable to escape. So the rings were most likely too tight, or they were just very poor quality rings or lids, which unfortunately is happening more and more lately. So it's one of the two. Right, this ring is not going on. So if your ring does not go on easily, don't force it. Get a new ring. All right. And remember that your rings can be reused and reused and reused for as long as they are still sealing, still closing. Once they are so rusted that you can't even turn them on your jars, then just throw them away. But for the most part, people have so many rings because with every jar you get a new ring and you can just reuse them. And whereas the lids, because you're not taking the lids off after you canned it and you are taking the rings off, some people don't, but I think for me personally, it's a wise practice to do that because then you know if you have a false seal or not. If your ring stays on, then if your jar becomes unsealed for whatever reason, you're not going to know it. And that is dangerous. You don't want that to happen and then have your jar reseal, because you're not going to know that your food is spoiled that way, and that is a very dangerous thing. So that is why I say always remove your rings after you have finished the processing and waited the 12 to 24 hours to make sure everything is sealed. Remove the rings and wash your jars. All right, let me go find two more rings. Also wanted to show you this. So a lot of people have no idea what to do with their rings because they get so many. So this was a ingenious way of doing it for me that I was told about when I was starting. So just get a piece of heavy duty string, tie a lid or a ring to the end, and then just start stacking your rings on here. And you're going to have so many of these. put this on a nail or a sturdy hook and just hang it on your wall or wherever you have space for it, and it's perfect. It's really great. So I have one for my wide mouth rings and one for my regular mouth rings. All right, now I'm going to wash these real quick and finish these, and I'll be back. Okay, so these are washed, and hopefully these will, okay. Sometimes I've noticed that certain rings from like certain brands of jars do not fit other jars, even though they're still wide mouth, they won't fit. And it drives me crazy. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced that. It makes me insane. It is like trying to find jeans and you're one size in one brand, and then you go and you try on that size in another brand and they don't fit. So that's how I feel about rings. All right, let me keep trying. I'll be right back. Okay, I finally found two that will fit this. So tighten it and then back it off, or just fingertip tight. Okay, so that's it. That's all there is to it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and fill my canner with 2 to 3 inches of water and put the lid on, heat it up slowly. You don't want to crank up the heat real quick because that will cause siphoning. But bring the canner up to temperature, let it vent for 10 minutes. Once it has vented and had that steam coming out the top really fast for 10 minutes, then I'm going to go ahead and put my weight on and put my timer once it reaches pressure. So once it starts to jiggle, then I'm going to go ahead and start my timer for 75 minutes. And once it's hit that 75-minute mark, turn off my heat and let it come down to 0 pressure and remove my weight. Then I am going to kind of leave my jars in there for an extra 5 minutes or so. That's not necessary, but that's just the way that I do it. And then I will remove the jars and I'll show you how that looks. So let's get to canning. All right, we are back, and I have finished the processing of the chicken, just taking them out of the canner. And so I have 8 pints of freshly canned chicken, and this is what they look like. They're still very hot, so I'm not touching them, but there you go. And you can see the chicken broth floating. And yes, the chicken is going to kind of be a compact ball when you do this kind of a chicken. And that just means that it's going to be shredded. I mean, when it comes out like this, when it comes out of the jars, that's pretty much the only way that it's going to come apart. But for me, it doesn't bother me at all. It's really great. I mean, you can make shredded chicken barbecue, shredded chicken super easy. That right there is like, I mean, just pour some barbecue sauce on it, warm it up, and you got a sandwich, or you got a barbecue shredded chicken salad. So there's so many different options that you can do with the shredded chicken. And then again, there are different ways that you can keep it more intact. So if you want to do fajitas or other things, there's definitely that way. But this, for me, is a great way to get chicken on the pantry shelf. And so I hope that you try this, and I hope that you share. And again, as always, if there's something that you are interested in canning and you would like me to show you how to do it, so you can do it with me, then feel free to comment below and I will look into getting that done. Just a last remark, just please, I would really encourage everybody to start canning as much as you can. That sounds kind of funny, but do it. Get your pantry stocked as best you can. I know that things are tight for a lot of people now, and that's, I think, the biggest reason to do what you can as fast as you can. If you are not doing a whole lot of canning here, maybe you don't have the jars, maybe you don't have the lids or the rings, or you don't have the time or the space, whatever it might be. If you can just get a few cans extra at the grocery store and continue to stock your shelves. And not just with food, but also check with emergency supplies and water and, you know, what have you. Just continue this preparedness thing. You know, you never know when you're going to need it. My daughter skinned both her knees today, and I had more than enough Band-Aids and ointment to put on her knees to make sure that she is good to go. So you never know when you're going to need it. I encourage you to do more than just stock your pantry shelves, but get other things that you might need that you never know when you're going to need it, and it's good to have. So this is going to be ready. I'm going to wait until tomorrow morning to remove the rings, and then I will wash the jars and label them and put them on the shelf. All right, I hope that you try this, and I hope that you join me on the next one. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to the next video. All right, have a great night.